Sign it and stay away from my sister for the rest of your life. I won't leave her. I love her.
Brother, no. He loves me genuinely. You can't do this.
He will rot in jail. He is not your class. He is a lowlife.
Sign it and stay away from my sister for the rest of your life, the billionaire said coldly, sliding the paper across the table. The young man stared at the document, his hands trembling. One signature, and he loses her forever. I won't leave her, he said, lifting his head. I love her, not because of her family status, but because she's everything to me. The room fell into a heavy, suffocating silence. The billionaire leaned back slowly, then smiled. A pity, he said, because if you won't walk away. His voice dropped. You'll rot in jail. Brother, no, she gasped, rushing forward. He loves me genuinely. You can't do this. But the billionaire didn't even look at her, because outside, sirens were already closing in, and at that moment, it was already too late. But before we get to the end of this story, let me take you back to where it all began. Stay with me. Her name was Lisa Jones, and if you saw her walking down the street, you would think, this woman has never had a single problem in her life. And you would be almost right. Lisa Jones was 32 years old, beautiful, educated abroad, and the youngest sister of Desmond Jones, one of the most powerful businessmen anyone in their circle had ever known. She drove a car that cost more than most people earned in 10 years. She wore clothes ordered from the finest designers. She had a personal assistant, a cook, a driver, and a security guard. But that evening, on a Thursday in October, her driver called in sick, and Lisa, feeling independent and maybe a little adventurous, decided to drive herself. That was her first mistake. Her second mistake was taking a shortcut through a rough part of town that her brother had warned her about 100 times. Her third mistake was ignoring the strange noise the car had been making since morning. 3 mistakes. And by 6 o'clock in the evening, all 3 of them caught up with her at the same time. The car sputtered. It coughed. And then, right in the middle of a narrow road, it died completely. Lisa sat frozen behind the wheel. Outside, the street was alive. Vendors shouting, motorbikes weaving through traffic, children running between stalls. And a few rough-looking men nearby had already noticed the expensive car sitting still. They were walking toward it slowly. Her hands shook as she reached for her phone. No signal. She locked the doors. Her heart was pounding so hard she could feel it in her ears. Then a knock on her window. She gasped and turned. A young man stood outside. He was wearing a faded mechanic shirt, stained with engine grease. His face was calm. His eyes were kind. I can see your car broke down, he said, his voice steady and gentle. My name is Owen. I work just down the road. Let me help you. Lisa stared at him. She had been taught her whole life not to trust strangers, especially in neighborhoods like this one. But something in his eyes, something honest and quiet, made her crack the window open just a little. How do I know I can trust you? She asked. He smiled softly. You don't, he said. But those men coming behind me, you definitely cannot trust them. So your best option right now is me. She looked in her rearview mirror. The group of men had stopped a few meters away, watching. She unlocked the door. Owen did not take advantage. He did not ask for her name, her number, or her story. He walked around to the front of the car, popped the hood, and went to work. He sent the watching men away with a few firm, calm words. He fixed the car, a broken fuel pump connector, something small but deadly, in less than 20 minutes. When he was done, he wiped his hands on a cloth and told her simply, You are good to go. Drive straight. No more shortcuts. Lisa sat in the car, looking at him through the windshield. She had expected him to ask for money, or to linger, or to try to impress her. He was already walking away. Wait, she called out, stepping out of the car. At least let me pay you. No need, he said without turning around. Then at least tell me your full name, she said. He paused, turned, and smiled again, that same quiet, warm smile. Owen, he said. Owen Carter. She pulled out a small notepad from her bag, the kind she carried for work, and wrote down her number. She tore the page and handed it to him. If you are ever in trouble, she said, or just want to talk, Call me. He looked at the paper, looked at her, and tucked it carefully into his shirt pocket. That was how it started. A friendship that became something more. She thought about him the entire drive home. Not because he was handsome, though he was. Not because he was charming, though he was that too. But because in a world full of people who always wanted something from her, he had wanted nothing. She waited. 3 days passed. Then on the 4th day, her phone rang. A number she did not recognize. "This is Owen," the voice said quietly. "I just wanted to make sure you got home safe that evening." She smiled so wide her cheeks hurt. They talked for 40 minutes about nothing important. His work, her childhood, the way life could make a person lose their mind when they stopped paying attention to the small things. She laughed more than she had laughed in months. He called again the next week, and the week after that. Then they started meeting. Small places, quiet cafes, a park near the waterfront. Owen was not rich. He ran a small auto repair shop he had built from scratch with his own hands. He had no connections, no family name that opened doors. But he was intelligent, funny, patient, and deeply, genuinely kind. He remembered things she said. He asked questions no one had ever asked her. He treated her not like a billionaire's sister, but like a person. And slowly, without either of them planning it, they fell in love. But love, in a house built on pride, is always dangerous. When Lisa finally told her brother about Owen, the reaction was not anger. It was worse. It was cold, calculated disgust. Desmond, known as Mr. Jones in business circles, sat behind his massive desk and listened to his sister with the patience of a man who had already made up his mind. Then he said, "A mechanic." "Not a question. A verdict." "He is more than that," Lisa said. "He is nothing," Desmond said flatly. "No name. No money. No future that matches yours. This is an embarrassment, Lisa. Not love. You don't know him." "I know his type," he said, "and I will not allow it." Lisa stood her ground. She was stubborn, brilliant, and absolutely unwilling to be controlled. So Desmond did what powerful men do when words fail them. He used his power. Feist, a warning was delivered to Owen through men in dark suits. Owen did not back down. Then came pressure on Owen's landlord, his suppliers, the local council that licensed his shop. Owen's business began to suffer, but still he stayed. Finally, Desmond made a quiet phone call to Officer Ray Grant, a man who had received Desmond's financial favors many times before and knew better than to refuse him. The arrangement was simple and shameful. Officer Grant would fabricate a fraud case against Owen, process the paperwork through a junior colleague who asked no questions, and Owen would be taken away before anyone could react. And one morning, it happened exactly like that. Owen Carter was arrested at his shop in front of his workers. The charge was fraud, completely fabricated, completely false. But the paperwork looked real. The handcuffs were real. And the prison cell was very, very real. Lisa screamed when she found out. She cried. She hired a lawyer immediately. But the lawyer kept hitting walls, documents that mysteriously disappeared, officials who suddenly stopped returning calls. Desmond's reach was long and quiet. He simply looked at his sister and said, "When you calm down, you will thank me." She did not speak to him for weeks. Now here's where fate, or the universe, or whatever you believe in, decided to get involved. Because around this same time, Desmond had developed a habit of stepping out of his car during his morning commute to stretch his legs. His route took him past a small roadside market, and his driver usually handled any shopping. But one morning, restless and distracted by thoughts he could not silence, he stepped out himself and wandered toward the stalls. And that was where he met Monica. She was 28, small in frame but enormous in spirit, with a laugh like a bell and a sharpness of mind that made you feel slightly embarrassed for underestimating her. She sold fresh fruit from a wooden table under a bright umbrella. She did not know who he was. She charged him full price. He tried to negotiate. She looked at him flatly and said, "This is not a boardroom. Pay or move." He paid. And then he stood there for another 10 minutes just talking to her because he could not think of a reason good enough to leave. He came back the next day. And the next. He started arriving earlier each morning, just to have more time. He brought her things, a better umbrella, a cold drink. She accepted the umbrella because Hayes had a broken spoke. She returned everything else. I don't collect gifts from men I barely know, she told him plainly. He was stunned. No one had ever returned anything he gave them. He fell for her completely. For the first time in his life, Desmond Jones did not feel powerful. He felt nervous. He felt young. He felt human. Over several weeks of morning visits, he told her about himself, his company, his wealth, his family, and she listened without being impressed, which impressed him more than anything. One morning he arrived looking heavier than usual, tired around the eyes, quieter than normal. Monica noticed immediately. "You look like a man carrying something he does not want to put down," she said. He almost deflected, but something about the way she looked at him, direct, without judgment, made him speak honestly. He told her about Lisa, about Owen, about everything he had done. Not boasting, not justifying, just telling it, the way a person tells a story they are no longer proud of. He expected her to nod politely. Instead, Monica set down the fruit in her hand very slowly. "So your sister," she said carefully, "the one you say you love and want to protect, is she happy right now?" The question hit him like cold water. "She will be," he said, "once she moves on." "That is not what I asked," Monica said quietly. "I asked if she is happy right now." Desmond had no answer. Monica stood up from her stool. "You took away the one person who made her happy," she said, her voice low and even. "And you replaced him with what exactly? Your approval. Because last I checked, your approval does not hold her hand. It does not check on her at night. It does not make her laugh. I did it to protect her." "You did it to protect your pride," she said, "and an innocent man is sitting in a cell right now because of it." She began packing up her table. "Do not come back here," she said. "Not until you have made it right." And she walked away without looking back. Desmond sat in his car for a very long time. He called her. She did not answer. He sent a message. She did not reply. He drove to the market the next morning. Her table was not there. For the first time in his adult life, Desmond Jones felt what it was like to lose something he could not buy back. And in that feeling, raw, unfamiliar, and deeply humiliating, something cracked open inside him. He thought about Owen Carter, sitting in a prison cell for the crime of loving someone well. He thought about Lisa, who had stopped eating properly and barely left her room. He thought about Monica, who had looked at him not with fear or admiration, but with honest disappointment. He had spent his whole life building walls of money and power around his family, and all those walls had done was trap the people he loved inside them. That night, he sat alone in his enormous house, and for the first time since he was a child, he wept. The next morning, Desmond called his personal lawyer, not the one who had helped build the walls, but an older man, a family friend, someone with a conscience. "I need to undo something I did," Desmond said. "Something wrong. I need Owen Carter released. I need the fraud charge dismissed completely and permanently. And I need it done in a way that is clean. No more favors. No more backdoors. Do it the right way." The lawyer was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "That will mean exposing what was done to put him there." "I know," Desmond said. "It could get uncomfortable for you." "I know," Desmond said again. "Do it anyway." It took careful legal work, affidavits, a formal review of the case file, and a quiet but firm report filed against Officer Ray Grant through the proper internal oversight channel, one that could not be buried the way Desmond's previous favors had buried things. It was not fast, but it was honest. And on a quiet Tuesday morning, 8 days later, Owen Carter walked out of prison into the bright morning sun, thinner than before, tired around the eyes, but unbroken. His head was up. His back was straight. Lisa was waiting for him outside the gate. She had been there since before sunrise. She ran to him. He held her, and they stood there in the morning light for a long time, not saying a single word, because there was nothing that words could do better than that silence. Desmond stood a few meters away, watching. He did not approach. He did not know if he had the right to. But then Owen looked up and met his eyes across the distance. A long pause. Owen said something quietly to Lisa. She nodded, stepping back just slightly, and Owen walked toward Desmond slowly, not with anger, not with pride, but with the steady, calm walk of a man who had decided what kind of person he wanted to be. Desmond stood still, like a man waiting for a judgment he knew he deserved. "I don't hate you," Owen said when he reached him, "but I need you to understand something. I never wanted your money. I never came near your sister because of what your family has. I came near her because of who she is. And everything I felt for her, I still feel. That never changed. Not even in that cell." Desmond looked at the ground. "I was wrong," he said. His voice was low and rough. "I was wrong about you. I was wrong about what love looks like when it doesn't come wearing the right clothes. I am sorry, Owen. Genuinely sorry." Owen was quiet for a moment. Then he extended his hand. Desmond looked at it. Then he shook it, firmly, gratefully, like a man holding on to something he almost threw away forever. Lisa stepped forward and took both of their hands in hers. It was not perfect. It was not a scene from a movie where everything becomes clean and easy in an instant. There were still things that needed time. But it was real. And it was a beginning. The following morning, Desmond drove to the market. He did not know if Monica would be there. He had no guarantee. He simply went because it was the only honest thing left to do. She was there. She saw him coming. She did not smile. But she also did not pack up a table and leave. She simply watched him walk toward her. He sat down on the small stool across from her and said, without decoration or excuse, "I freed him. I did it the right way. I apologized to him and to my sister. I am trying to become someone worth knowing." Monica studied him the way she always did, directly, quietly, missing nothing. "And the officer," she asked. "Reported through the right channels," he said. "Properly. It is being handled." She was quiet for a long moment. "Better is not a speech," she said finally. "Better is what you do every day after the speech is over." "I know," he said. "I am not here to impress you. I am here because you told me the truth when no one else would. And I think I need more of that in my life." The corner of her mouth moved, just slightly. "You still owe me for that pineapple from last Tuesday," she said. "You walked off without paying properly." He laughed, really laughed, for the first time in what felt like a very long time. He paid. Double. She shook her head slowly. But she did not stop smiling. 1 year later, Lisa and Owen were married in a small, joyful ceremony surrounded by the people who truly loved them. Owen wore a clean-pressed suit that he had bought himself. Lisa wore white and gold. They danced until their feet ached and their faces hurt from smiling. Desmond sat in the front row. Beside him, wearing a simple yellow dress and holding a small bunch of wildflowers she had picked herself on the way there, was Monica. At one point during the evening, Desmond leaned over and whispered, "Thank you." "For what?" she asked. "For not letting me stay the man I was." She looked at him for a moment. Then she squeezed his hand once, quietly, warmly, like a promise that did not need any words. Outside, the sun went down slow and golden, full of the kind of peace that only comes after a long and honest storm. Because they say, the heart that learns to bend is always stronger than the one that refuses to break. And love, true love, cannot be locked away. No prison can hold it. No pride can outlast it. No amount of money can ever replace it. Thanks for watching. Drop a heart if you enjoyed the story and tell us where you're watching from.